Hospital thrummed with life, each heartbeat measured in the steady beeping of machines and the murmurs of patients. Maria Castillo wove through the chaos in her blue scrubs, a steady presence among the flurry of doctors and nurses. Every gesture she made was thoughtful, a gentle touch here, a warm smile there, offering solace to those who were fighting their own battles. Yet, beneath her unwavering exterior, a quiet turmoil brewed within her. As she passed the staff break room, her gaze caught a vibrantly colored flyer pinned to the wall. "Local talent show. Showcase your voice," it declared in bold letters, surrounded by images of performers in bright lights, their expressions alive with joy. Maria's heart quickened. The thought of singing, of letting her voice soar beyond the confines of the hospital walls, resurrected long-buried memories of dreaming in her childhood bedroom. But as quickly as that spark ignited, a sense of doubt smothered it. Could she really pursue this? The looming expectations of her family weighed heavily on her shoulders, her father's stern belief that practical careers held more value. Duty had been her compass, guiding her through life. The sacrifices she made as she cared for others drew her even deeper into a path that felt determined by others rather than by herself. Hours passed as Maria lost herself in the rhythm of her shift, each patient a reminder of her commitment. But that sense of fulfillment was cut short when she entered a dim room where an elderly woman lay frail. Maria approached, her heart swelling with empathy as she grasped the woman's thin hand. "Maria," the patient whispered, her voice barely audible, "you have a gift. Don't let it slip away," I once sang. The woman's eyes glistened, a profound yearning reflecting the life she once held. It lifted me, but I let fear take over. A lump formed in Maria's throat. "But my role is to help others," she replied softly. The woman squeezed her hand, the gesture filled with understanding. "Your duty can't replace what you long for. Don't bury your song along with your dreams." Maria felt as if the air had escaped her lungs, her heart aching with each unspoken yearning. After leaving the room, the heaviness of responsibility wrapped around her like a shroud. Outside, twilight clasped the hospital in its embrace, and Maria was caught under the night sky, shimmering stars serving as bittersweet reminders of her suppressed dreams. They sparkled with the promise of hope, yet emphasized her fear of never pursuing them. She glanced back at the talent show flyer, awash in a sea of uncertainty, before slipping into her car. That evening, Maria questioned the price of her quiet strength. Would it be enough to inspire others when she felt so lost herself? The stillness of her heart echoed a formidable truth. She was losing her voice, entangled in the demands of duty, feeling the weight of unrealized potential. Maria Castillo stood in front of the mirror, the reflection showing a woman who had grown weary under the burdens of duty. With each passing day, she felt the echoes of her childhood dreams grow fainter, drowned out by the relentless responsibilities of her job and the weight of her family's expectations. Yet, in the reflection, she could almost see the vibrant girl she once was, a girl whose laughter echoed in the corridors of her family home and whose voice filled the air with melodies that danced like fireflies on warm summer nights. The memories came rushing back, vivid and bittersweet. Maria remembered the small town where she grew up, a place where music played like a heartbeat in the background of their lives. Her father's voice, rich and melodic, would fill their modest home as he strummed his old guitar. "Singing is the language of the soul, Maria," he would tell her, his deep-set eyes sparkling with pride whenever she sang along. In those moments, she felt limitless. But as she grew older, the pressures mounted. "Music is a passion, not a profession," her father cautioned. His words lingered like an unwelcome shadow, slowly suffocating her dreams under the guise of practicality. She was expected to follow in her family's footsteps, to become a caregiver just like her father and the generations before him. As a child, Maria had relished the idea of helping others, but her heart yearned for more than the confines of a hospital. Flashes of her past ignited a sense of nostalgia as she pictured herself in her room, lying on her bed, writing lyrics on the back of old notebooks. The warmth of the sun filtering through her window, the gentle hum of the radio serving as her soundtrack. She would create stories for days. But life had other plans. The dreams that once swirled within her like a vivid painting had been forced into the background, collecting dust as she took on the mantle of duty. Fast forward to the present, and the hospital's fluorescent lights felt harsher, illuminating her exhaustion. During her break, Maria wandered through the familiar corridors, humming softly to herself. The soft notes flowed from her lips, and for an instant, the weight of her life's choices lifted, until the pressure returned with a vengeance. She caught herself daydreaming, fantasizing about performing in front of an audience, the thrill of sharing her stories. But such thoughts were quickly extinguished by a chorus of self-doubt that echoed in her mind. "You are a nurse, not a star." Just then, her best friend Elena Lopez rounded the corner, her vibrant energy a stark contrast to the sterile environment. "Hey, Maria, you look like you need some sunshine," she declared, a bright smile lighting up her face. Elena was a constant in Maria's life, her loyal confidant who understood her struggles, but also pushed her to chase her dreams. "I'm okay, just tired from the shift," Maria replied, forcing a smile. Elena raised an eyebrow, not quite believing her facade. "You know, I heard about that talent show again. What are you waiting for? You have to give it a shot." Maria's heart sank at the very mention of it. "I can't, Elena. I have responsibilities, patients who need me. Music is just a fantasy now." "Fantasy or not, it's a part of you," Elena retorted, crossing her arms. "You can't ignore that. Remember how you used to light up when you talked about singing? You should bring that passion back into your life." A tight knot formed in Maria's chest at the reminder. "Things are different now," she murmured. "I have to think of my family, of my duties as a nurse." Elena softened her tone, placing a reassuring hand on Maria's shoulder. "But what about you? Your happiness matters too. You're not just Maria the nurse, you're Maria the dreamer. Don't let fear tether you." Later that evening after her shift, Maria returned home, her father's voice whispering in her mind as she sat on the edge of her bed. She sifted through old boxes, unearthing yellowed papers filled with lyrics and scribbles from her youth. Each line pulsed with the essence of who she was, a mosaic of forgotten dreams and vibrant ambitions. As the light faded outside, she pulled out her father's old guitar, its wooden frame dusty yet familiar. The weight of it felt comforting in her hands. Strumming the strings released a cascade of emotions. The sound echoed softly in her room, a haunting melody that made her heart flutter. "I had forgotten how it felt," she whispered to herself, the music stirring something deep within. For a brief moment she reconnected with the girl who had believed in dreams, who had envisioned standing on stage, pouring her heart into songs. But as the night drew on, despair crept back in, reminding her of the expectations she bore, the legacy of service that had been etched into her family history. Tears welled in her eyes as she thought about her father's hopes resting upon her shoulders. Could she really break free and dare to sing her own melody? The answer came in the form of a silent resolve. She understood now that the yearning wouldn't just vanish, it would remain, whispering for her to embrace it. As she strummed the guitar, a flicker of hope ignited, a quiet determination blossoming like the first flowers of spring after a long winter. With renewed purpose, Maria vowed to explore this balance between duty and dreams. Perhaps the path to her heart's desires wasn't as clear-cut as she thought. Maybe it was time to silence the doubts and let the harmony of her past guide her into the future. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind for Maria Castillo. Each shift at the hospital bled into the next, the routine consuming her as she navigated the corridors filled with hope and heartache. Yet, amidst the chaos, a spark flickered in her heart, an ember kindled by the resolve she had quietly made to embrace her dreams. She began to carve out small moments for herself, stealing away to her room, where the soft strum of her father's old guitar became her refuge. Evenings were filled with the haunting melodies of forgotten lyrics, and each note slowly peeled away the layers of doubt that draped heavily over her soul. Still, that flicker of hope often felt threatened by the constant weight of expectation and responsibilities that tugged at her relentlessly. One late afternoon, Maria walked into the break room, the rich aroma of coffee mingling with the faint sounds of buzzing conversations. Alone in a corner, Eleanor sipped her drink and her eyes lit up as Maria entered. "There you are, I thought I lost you to a patient," she teased, then added thoughtfully, "Have you made any decisions about the talent show?" Maria hesitated, uncertainty gnawing at her. "I don't know, there's so much I have to focus on here and I don't want to disappoint anyone," she replied, her voice wavering with the weight of her doubt. "Eleanor," she continued, "what if I fail? What if they laugh at me?" "Maria, they'll applaud you for having the courage to take the stage," Eleanor interjected, her voice firm yet encouraging. You've been hiding for too long. It's time to step out. Show everyone the Maria I know. Yet even as Elena spoke with conviction, Maria's heart thudded with uncertainty. The fear of what others might think loomed ominously ahead. That night, as the stars twinkled like distant dreams, Maria sat on her bed, her guitar resting in her lap. She opened her notebook, filled with lyric snippets and half-finished verses, yet an invisible barrier loomed between her and her creativity. Each time her fingers hovered over the strings, the haunting thoughts of inadequacy pulled her back. What if the audience sees the cracks beneath her painted smile? Days passed, and as the talent showcase beckoned closer, Maria felt the pressure mount. Each shift at the hospital became more burdensome, as the longing for permission to express her true self warred with her obligation to others. Quietly, she observed the fatigue settle into the bones of her colleagues, the flashes of inspiration extinguishing with relentless demands. Then came a fateful day. Maria arrived at the hospital to an unusually heavy atmosphere. News fluttered through the staff like wildfire. A beloved patient had passed away, one who held the hearts of nurses and doctors alike. The news struck Maria deeply. She had shared moments with Mr. Jenkins, an elderly man whose laughter filled the ward with warmth. In that vulnerable space, he'd often crooned old country songs, leaving Maria with a lasting impression of how music could heal. As she stepped into the dimly lit room where they would honor his memory, Maria felt the air thicken, heavy with sorrow. The staff circled around, their faces lined with grief. Yet in the echoes of their somber conversation, she heard something else, the murmurs of laughter from happier memories, the voices that centered around courage, hope, and resilience. In that moment, Maria felt the walls of her heart begin to crack, revealing the passion drowning beneath the surface. After everyone had left, it was just Maria standing alone. In the silence, the old man's favorite tune came to her mind, and she found herself humming it softly, her voice wavering yet vibrant, each note a salute to Mr. Jenkins. As her voice filled the room, she closed her eyes, allowing the anguish and nostalgia to collide with her own burgeoning resolve. Suddenly it felt like the walls of expectation that had confined her crumbled into dust. The rush of song flowed, as if she were finally honoring not just her own dreams, but those who had inspired her along the way. She didn't just sing for herself, she sang for the vibrant pulse of life, joy, fear, and love, all blending within the fragile heart of existence. But as she stepped outside, the harsh reality clashed with her momentary escape. What would her father think? The thought rolled heavy. She had always been his little girl, the nurse he and the family depended upon. Could she truly step outside the limits that fate had drawn? The thought spiraled out of control, drowning her in an encroaching loneliness. The fear of judgment loomed larger than life itself, and with each passing day, she felt further from her dreams. One evening she reached for her guitar, but could only stare at it as emotions locked her in place. With a trembling hand she put it back. An invitation to the talent show lay on her desk, its edges crisp and inviting, like a door to her heart's desire that she now felt too afraid to open. Her gaze fell on a picture of her father that sat beside it, the weight of his eyes filled with expectation constricting her lungs. Maria had hoped to reconcile her duties with her dreams, to straddle two worlds. But in that moment, the hollow echo of loneliness closed in around her, wrapping her in an invisible cocoon that paralyzed her with fear. She felt adrift, uncertain, as the music of her heart played softly beneath the surface. Maria Castillo awoke to the sound of rain tapping on her window, soft yet persistent, like the thoughts swirling in her mind. The scent of damp earth wafted in as she nestled deeper into her blankets, feeling the familiar weight of uncertainty settle on her chest. The talent show was just a day away, and in the depths of her soul a storm raged between her dreams and the expectations that tethered her. As she lay there, images of the hospital flashed through her mind, the smiles of grateful patients, the way her hands helped heal, the bonds she forged with her colleagues. Maria smiled at the thought, but then felt the familiar pang of fear grip her heart. Could she really leave this life behind, even just for an evening? The question lingered, hanging heavy in the air like the storm clouding her thoughts. That morning, the rain persisted, drumming a rhythm that stirred something deep within her, a call to action she could no longer ignore. Maria sat up, letting the initial dread wash over her. She pulled out her guitar and strummed a few chords, welcoming the familiar sound that wove like a thread through her soul. With the rain as her backdrop, she began to sing softly, her voice blending seamlessly with the raindrops, allowing her emotions to spill out in an unguarded moment of vulnerability. As the notes floated through the air, she began to feel lighter, the heaviness cracking open like the dawn piercing through the night. Each strum and each note brought her closer to something she had pushed down for so long, a remembrance that she was not just a caretaker, but also a storyteller, capable of weaving her experiences into song. With each lyric and chord, her heart mirrored the rhythm outside, harmonizing with the rain that beat on the roof. For the first time in weeks, Maria felt a flicker of joy, the kind that had once been the heartbeat of her existence. Determined to keep this spirit alive, Maria made her way to the hospital, her guitar slung across her back. It felt like a kindred spirit, a symbol of the talent that lay dormant and the dreams begging to be realized. The warm chatter of her colleagues greeted her, their laughter filling the halls, and for a moment she felt overwhelmed with a burgeoning belonging. During her break, she found Elena in the staff lounge, scrolling through her phone. "You look different," Elena commented, a knowing smile on her face as she glanced at the guitar. "Are you ready for the talent show?" Maria hesitated, a flicker of doubt casting a shadow. "I think so, but what if I mess up? What if they don't connect with what I have to say?" Elena leaned closer, her eyes warm and steady. "That's the beauty of music, Maria. It's about sharing a piece of yourself, not about perfection. Just like how you connect with patients every day, you have that same power on stage. Remember, you're only competing against yourself." As the reassurance settled within her, Maria could feel flames of inspiration take hold once again. She closed her eyes, trying to envision the stage and the audience waiting as she poured her heart out. "You're right," she whispered, determination glimmering in her gaze. "I need to do this for me." The decision came with an embrace of lightness, finally releasing the grip fear had on her. As the rainy afternoon turned into a soft twilight, Maria made her way home, the world around her shimmering with vibrancy, hope interwoven in the fabric of the evening. She practiced her song, growing in confidence with each repetition, letting the lyrics dance from her lips. But as she lay in bed that night, with the talent show looming ahead, a familiar pang of doubt resurfaced. The whispers of uncertainty crept back, threatening to unravel the resolve she'd built. What if the audience didn't resonate with her song? What if her father found out and was disappointed? Yet a voice within her rose above the noise. Music was a form of expression, not a performance measured against others. It was about bravery, about sharing her experiences, her journey. Tentatively, she reached for her guitar once more, and the songs she'd written whispered back, calling her to trust her voice. The next evening arrived with the reverberations of anticipation hanging palpably in the air. The town hall buzzed with energy, as families, friends, and aspiring stars gathered under one roof. Each face radiated enthusiasm, yet Maria felt the stirrings of fraught anxiety knotting her stomach. She stood backstage, clutching her guitar tightly, the wooden body a lifeline against the tide of fear washing over her. "Maria," Eleanor's voice broke through the static in her mind. "You're up next." "Wait, I can't," Maria stammered, her heart racing. "You can and you will," Elena stated firmly, her own courage shining brightly. "Just remember why you started singing in the first place." The words resonated, breaking through the veil of anxiety with conviction. Maria stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding against her ribs, the spotlight illuminating her in a halo of warmth. As she stood there, the chatter quieted, and the faces in the audience started to merge into a sea of hope and encouragement. Maria's pulse steadied as she fixed her gaze on the invisible thread connecting her to the audience, a bond grounded in shared humanity. With a deep breath, she began strumming her guitar, the sound weaving through the silence. As her voice resonated, raw and honest, she poured the essence of herself into the song, the dreams, the fears, the acceptance of her story. She sang for the patients, for Mr. Jenkins, for her family, and ultimately, for herself. Each note broke the barriers surrounding her heart, the melody bringing forth a wave of catharsis that filled the space between her and the audience with connection. Laughter turned into tears of joy as her vulnerability enveloped the room. Maria felt the weight lift, every note an affirmation of her journey towards self-acceptance. When the last note settled into silence, the audience erupted into applause, filling her with an incredible sense of belonging. Maria stood there in disbelief, but illuminated by a gentle warmth. She had not only taken a step toward her dreams, but she had also shared in the beauty of connection that music could bring. As she exited the stage, Elena rushed in with an exuberant energy that felt electric. "You did it! You were amazing!" she exclaimed, enveloping Maria in a warm embrace. Maria chuckled breathlessly, tears pooling in her eyes, not out of fear, but from the satisfaction of having surrendered to her truth. "I finally sang my song," she whispered, half in disbelief and half in awe at the realization. And in that moment, the world around her brightened, reflecting the newfound freedom she had birthed through music, a rebirth that had unlocked her voice, unified her past, and carved a path for her future. The following days after the talent show felt like a wondrous dream for Maria Castillo. An electric energy coursed through her, echoing the resounding applause that still rang in her ears. The overwhelming emotion stirred within validated her yearning for self-expression, and a profound sense of peace began to take root in her heart. Returning to the hospital, each interaction felt enriched. The smiles of her patients radiated warmth, and her hands seemed infused with renewed strength. Maria found herself humming those familiar tunes as she moved through her duties, the music of her soul singing louder than it ever had before. Eleanor caught her humming one afternoon. "You know, you could be our hospital's secret weapon. Consider starting a music therapy group," she suggested, her enthusiasm contagious. "Music therapy?" Maria echoed, her eyebrows knitting together in concentration. "I've never thought of doing something like that. Why not? You've got an incredible gift, and this place could really benefit from it," Eleanor encouraged, her smile wide with possibility. "I can already picture you helping patients through it, just as you do with your nursing skills." Maria felt a thrill at the thought, but hesitated. Was she ready to step so firmly into this blend of music and caregiving? Still, the idea sparked excitement, igniting flickers of inspiration that haunted her in the best way possible. What if she could merge her two loves, instead of dividing them? In the coming days, she gathered materials, ideas, and inspiration. She crafted a plan to propose a music therapy program aimed at supporting patients in their healing, not just physically, but emotionally. Her heart raced as she prepared her presentation. The thought of introducing music as a conduit for healing filled her soul with purpose. When the day of the proposal arrived, Maria stood at the head of a small meeting room, surrounded by her colleagues and administrators. They looked stern, yet supportive, a quiet hum of anticipation electrifying the air. "Thank you for gathering today," Maria began, her voice steady as she presented her idea. "Music can transcend the barriers we build in our everyday lives. It can connect us, heal us, and make us feel less alone in our struggles." Taking a breath, she shared her own story of transformation, calling upon the power of song that had unlocked her heart. Her journey towards self-acceptance resonating deeply with her audience. "I want to initiate a music therapy program in our hospital," she concluded, eyes sparkling with hope as she searched the room for reactions. "Imagine offering patients a chance to express themselves through music, to find solace and healing in their favorite melodies." The room fell hushed for a moment, until Dr. Rivera, the chief of staff, spoke up with a soft smile. "Maria, this is a wonderful idea. We've seen the benefits of art and music in healing before, but it takes passionate individuals to make it a reality." Tears of relief pooled in Maria's eyes at the supportive response. She felt the ground beneath her shift. It had solidified into a foundation upon which she could truly build something beautiful. The music therapy program flourished. Days blurred into weeks as Maria discovered joy in crafting sessions for patients. Music circles, lyric writing exercises, and raucous sing-alongs brightened the hospital halls. Patients sang their hearts out, stories woven into lyrics, tears became instruments of healing, and laughter burst forth in moments of connection. Through it all, Maria wove in her own experiences, sharing her journey, lending her voice to those too fearful to sing. Each soul she touched further bound them in a dance of healing. With every strum of her guitar and every shared note, she felt herself transform anew. The shy girl beneath her sometimes felt like a distant memory, but also a keystone of her current identity. Despite the beauty unfolding, Maria felt a lingering undercurrent of doubt, particularly concerning her father. In her heart, she longed to share her journey with him, to show him how far she had come. Yet the shadows of expectations loomed. Finally, One evening, after a fulfilling day of leading a music therapy session, Maria decided it was time to reach out. She called her father, his voice rough yet familiar as he answered. "Hi, Papa," she began, her heart racing. "Maria, is everything all right?" he asked, concern lacing his words. "Yes, everything is great. I wanted to talk to you about something important," she replied, her pulse quickening. She felt an unexpected surge of courage as she continued. "I've started a music therapy program at the hospital. It helps patients heal through song, sharing their stories and finding solace." There was silence on the other end, and her heart sank. She held her breath, waiting for his response. "That sounds different," he finally replied, his voice cautious. "Different how?" she inquired gently, wanting to understand. "Maria, you've always put duty first. I worry this path might take you away from your responsibilities." His words pierced her, a mirror reflecting back the fears she had battled for so long, the fear that her father might still see her as just a nurse, not the artist she had become. "Papa, I want you to understand that this is also my responsibility," she implored, her voice steady yet vulnerable. "Helping others through music is equally valid, and it brings joy to my life and those around me. It doesn't lessen my role as a nurse, but enriches it." "I see." He paused, his tone softening finally, feeling the warmth beneath her conviction. "I suppose I can understand that." When they hung up, Maria felt a rush of relief and hope. She realized that she didn't need her father's complete acceptance to validate her journey. She was writing her own narrative, combining her passions into something meaningful, building connections that would resonate far beyond the walls of the hospital. As the rhythm of life continued, Maria's love for music intertwined seamlessly with her role as a caregiver, harmonizing beautifully. The melodies that floated through her days felt more like woven threads of laughter, love, and healing, intricately binding her to the people she served. Months later, she found herself in the community center, leading a gathering of patients celebrating the first anniversary of the music therapy program. The room was alive with melody. Laughter and song merged into vibrant notes that filled every corner. In the midst of the celebration, Maria looked around at the faces glowing with connection, and she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She found herself standing before the piano, ready to perform a song she had written for this occasion, one that encapsulated her journey, echoing her dreams, struggles, and rebirth. As she began to sing, the audience responded, their voices joining hers in a beautiful tapestry of sound. Each word resonated deeply, and in that moment she knew this was her path, an intricate dance weaving together nursing and music, healing and music therapy, duty and dreams. For the first time she felt fully alive, embracing all parts of herself, the nurse, the artist, the daughter, and above all the woman who had dared to dream and allowed the melody of her life to play on, unfettered and free. The first anniversary celebration of the music therapy program was more than a milestone. It marked a turning point in the lives of those who had immersed themselves in its magic. Maria felt the fabric of her life stitched together more tightly, wrapping her in a warm embrace of fulfillment. Each smile exchanged in the community center that vibrant afternoon filled the air with a euphoric sense of belonging. As the event wound down, patients exchanged stories about the impact of music in their lives. Laughter echoed through the room, along with the sounds of shuffling feet and clapping hands. Maria felt a flutter of happiness swell in her chest as she listened to their sharing, the pieces of themselves that had touched the songs they had sung together. Later that evening, when the crowds had dispersed and the lights dimmed, Maria sat alone in the quiet of the community center, the echoes of laughter fading like a gentle caress. It dawned on her how far she had come, how many barriers she had torn down. In this space, she was more than just a nurse, she was a healer of hearts, and that realization washed over her like a soft breeze. "Hey, you!" Elena's voice broke the stillness as she dipped her head through the doorway. "I thought I'd find you in here. You were amazing today. People are still raving about your song." Maria laughed, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear. "I was nervous, but it felt right being up there, sharing all of this." "You've really transformed," Elena remarked, her gaze warm and sincere. "And it's inspiring to see how you've brought this community together. You've given them a voice." Maria's heart swelled with pride, and for the first time in a long while, she felt the sense of purpose she had always longed for. "Thank you. I didn't know what this journey would look like when I began, but it's become so much more than I imagined." Elena chuckled softly. You've finally embraced who you are. And that's a gift for all of us, not just you. Keep singing your truth. As the months slipped by, Maria dedicated herself both to her nursing and the music therapy program, blurring the lines between passion and duty. Each patient brought their story into the therapy sessions, and each session held a lesson, a reminder of what it meant to be human, to heal, and to celebrate the beauty in shared experiences. Yet in the depths of her joy, she felt a pull to confront yet another shadow from her past, the strained relationship with her father. Their conversations had become more frequent as they cautiously explored the new lens through which they could see each other. Still, something felt incomplete, a lingering disconnect between the daughter he knew and the woman she was becoming. One Sunday afternoon, Maria arranged to meet her father for lunch in the small-town diner where they used to visit often. The familiar clatter of dishes and murmurs of patrons wrapped around her like a comforting quilt, yet a subtle tension bubbled beneath her surface. When her father walked in, Maria's heart raced. He looked weary but proud, and as their eyes met, a mixture of apprehension and hope washed over her. "Hey, Papa," she greeted, forcing a smile despite the hesitation knotting her insides. "Hello, Maria. You look well," he replied, sliding into the booth across from her. Gazing into the lines of his face, she felt the weight of unspoken words pressing against them. "I wanted to talk about the music therapy program," she began tentatively, unsure how to navigate the conversation that had been tangled in her thoughts for so long. "Is this going well?" he asked, leaning back slightly, his brow arching in interest. "Yes, it's doing really well, actually," she rushed in, eager to share her experience. "Patients have shared their stories through music, and we've created something beautiful together. I'm really proud of it." Her father listened, nodding while he absorbed her words. The silence swelled, and Maria shook her head softly to gather her thoughts. "I know you worried about me leaving nursing duties behind, but I feel like I'm truly fulfilling my calling in both areas," she admitted, her voice low but steady. "Nursing and music aren't separate for me anymore. They are intertwined, like threads in a tapestry." He looked into her eyes, and for a fleeting moment, Maria felt hope glimmering between them. "I understand you found passion in this," he said slowly, contemplating, "yet it still worries me." "Why?" she asked, leaning in closer, her pulse quickening. "I thought you'd see how profoundly I'm affected by this work, how it brings joy not just to me, but to others as well." "But what if you lose focus?" he countered, the corners of his mouth tightening. "You can't let your work slip away, Maria. We have a responsibility to uphold the family legacy." His words stung, but Maria steadied herself. This was her moment to confront the ghost of expectation that lingered between them. "Papa, the only legacy I want to uphold is one of authenticity. I want to show you and all of us that pursuing what makes our hearts sing doesn't diminish our responsibilities. It enhances them." As the tension hung thick between them, she saw something shift in her father's demeanor, a flicker of understanding dawning behind his weary eyes. "Maybe I've not seen it that way," he confessed quietly. "Both you and your family would have me believe that a nurse must strictly adhere to a path. But you've shown me a different journey, a flexible one," he admitted, looking vulnerable. Maria felt the gulf between them beginning to narrow. Perhaps this was a small step toward acceptance. "I just want to honor my voice, Papa. And I want you to hear it too. That's important to me." Her father finally took a deep breath. "I want to understand. I'll come to one of your sessions," he offered, and although his words were understated, they were heartfelt. "Really?" Maria said, surprise brimming in her tone. "Yes, if it means we come together. I'd like to see this change in you," he said, his expression softening. In that moment, a shift transpired. The acceptance they both sought began to unfold. Maria realized that showing her father her world of music and healing wouldn't just validate her journey, but was also a path toward creating a new bond, one built on mutual respect for their individuality. As they left the diner that afternoon and stepped into the warm embrace of daylight, Maria felt light. The chains of expectation that had long confined her heart loosened, and for the first time, she felt free, empowered to share both her passions and her identity without fear of judgment. The day of the music therapy session arrived bright and clear, with sunlight pouring into the community center, illuminating the walls that had witnessed countless stories of struggle and triumph. Maria felt a blend of excitement and nerves as she adjusted her guitar strap, reminding herself that today was pivotal. She took a deep breath, glancing around at the vibrant, familiar faces of the participants who had become like family. Each had a story, a melody that danced just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Today she would be sharing this special space with someone who she hoped would understand the depth of her passion, her father. When he arrived, Maria's heart raced. There he stood, slightly reluctant at the entrance, uncertainty etched across his brow as he surveyed the room, bustling with laughter and chatter. She waved him over, her spirit lifting as he moved closer. Would this be the moment he finally connected with her journey? "Papa," she called out warmly, smiling at him, her pulse quickening. "Hello, Maria," he replied, scanning the scene. She noticed how he softened in appearance as kind smiles greeted him from those around, welcoming him into the circle. "Thanks for coming," she said, her voice steady. "I'm so glad you're here." As the session began, Maria encouraged participants to share their experiences with music, fostering an atmosphere of openness. Heartfelt stories flowed as people recounted moments of joy and grief, weaving a tapestry of emotion that enveloped the room. He hesitated for a moment, taken by surprise, then slowly nodded. "I think I'd like to share something," he eventually said. The room grew silent, all eyes on him, captivated by this unexpected turn. "I remember when my brothers and I would gather around the fire and sing traditional songs," he began, his voice steady yet tinged with nostalgia. "It was simple, but we felt a connection, not just to the songs, but to each other." As he spoke, Maria witnessed a transformation. His demeanor shifted, and the initial reluctance melted away, revealing the warmth of shared memories. He articulated his love for music and how it bound them together, and slowly, a wave of understanding washed over her. The applause that followed felt like a blanket of acceptance, enveloping her father in a newfound embrace. "Thank you for sharing that, Papa," Maria said, her voice cracking slightly with emotion. "It was beautiful." In that moment, she felt as if they were standing on the precipice of something important. The walls between them began to crumble, and the emotional barriers forged from years of misunderstanding began to dissolve. As the session continued, Maria guided the group in a joyful song, inviting her father to join in. To her delight, he sang along, his voice mingling with those of the participants. It was a glorious sound, one that transcended the boundaries of age and experience, knitting them closer together in harmony. Afterward, as the final notes faded into a comfortable silence, she approached her father, her heart full. "How did that feel?" she asked, her eyes bright. "I had forgotten how powerful music could be," he replied, a clarity shining in his gaze. "It's more than just singing. It connects us." "Exactly," Maria affirmed, her heart racing. "Would you want to come to more sessions?" "Absolutely," he said with newfound enthusiasm. "I want to understand this part of your life better, Maria." As they walked outside together, Maria felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in years. The burdens of expectation slipped away, replaced by a buoyant sense of freedom and the thrill of connection. It wasn't just about music anymore. It was about rebuilding their relationship, layer by layer. With every step into the bright sunlight, she recognized that they were navigating uncharted waters, father and daughter becoming equals on a shared journey. It transformed not only their bond, but also Maria's perception of herself. No longer was she just a daughter trying to gain her father's approval. She was an artist and healer, ready to share her song with the world, and he was ready to hear it. As they laughed together, the music of the community center echoed in their hearts, resonating with the promise of renewal and a commitment to support each other's journeys. Their path was unfolding anew, and they were finally in tune. In that moment, Maria understood that their story was only beginning. They stood on the precipice of a new legacy, one built on shared dreams and open hearts, with melodies that would guide them through whatever life had in store.